So I had this big plan for yesterday's Morning Pitt to be rankings, recruiting, and red shirts, and anything else that I could anything else I could think of that started with R. But we got talking about the rankings so much, and then definitely wanted to get the recruiting that we didn't get a chance to talk about red shirts. So we wrote about it actually on Panther-Lair.com earlier this week, just kind of taking stock of the roster, the guys who are eligible to get red shirts, whether they're still on track to get red shirts, or if they've played enough that they're not going to be able to use it this year. And that's not just the freshmen. It's freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, guys who could potentially use an extra year. And there are players at each of those four class levels that could potentially redshirt this year and come back for another season. Actually, I don't think there's any juniors. Pitt's got 4 true juniors on the roster this year, and I think all of them have played enough that they're not going to be able to take a redshirt. But it is something worth looking at. It's something worth considering, and I think it's relevant to consider and think about with 3 regular season games left. As you see guys go on the field, if they're a true freshman or if they're a senior, you know kind of where they stand. And so I thought we'd take a look at that today. It's also, a lot of this episode is just going to be talking about how good Pitt's freshman class has been, because a lot of those guys are the ones who we are interested in when it comes to red shirts and that sort of thing. But ultimately, I think it's interesting to look at to see who's played, how much they've played, if they've gotten, if Pitt has gotten useful, worthwhile contributions out of them, or whether those games could have been saved, and also some of those upperclassmen who could potentially come back for another year. So let's talk about red shirts. Let's talk about eligibility. Let's talk about participation here on the Thursday edition of the Morning Pitt. YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Yeah, this off week has given us an opportunity for some different kinds of content, and certainly tracking the red shirts right now. It's like such a, I don't know why it didn't really occur to me at the beginning of the year. I knew this off week was coming at a good time, give you a chance to heal up and rest up before these 3 final games of the season. I think we thought Georgia Tech would be pretty good. Weren't really sure, but certainly had high expectations for Miami and over Notre Dame. So I think we circled this as an important off week for Pitt. But it really is such an interesting separation point, to sort of head into the final quarter of the season with a week off. And it allows us to do things like take stock of who has used their red shirts, or who's played enough that they can't redshirt, or who's still got that option available to them going forward. So, when you look at these final 3 games, remember, players can play up to 4 games and still take a red shirt for regular season games. Postseason games don't count. Conference championship game, bowl game, playoff, whatever it might be. And so it's always kind of like a funny thing that, conceivably a player could play like 8 games and still redshirt. You could play your 4 games during the regular season. You could play the conference championship game and then 3 playoff games, and conceivably play 8 games and take a redshirt, which I don't know if they'll ultimately change those rules, but it is kind of a funny angle in this whole thing. I don't know if Pitt's on that path, but they do have a number of guys who have already passed that 4-game threshold. And again, you can play 4 games in the regular season and still take a red shirt. You get to that 5th game, it's over. And this is a change from, previous years. I think all the way up through 2017, I want to say, is the last year of the old rules. And the old rules were you set foot on the field for a play and your red shirt is gone. And so, we always talk about 2017, Kenny Pickett's freshman year, that game at Syracuse when Max Brown got hurt. Ben DiNucci had to go in, and he was the quarterback. And you get down to the end of the game, and at one point, like waning seconds of that game, which ultimately ended up being a Pitt loss, Ben DiNucci's helmet comes off. Chin strap was loose or something. His helmet came off, and due to the rules, he had to go out. He had to leave the field for one play. There was only one play left in the game. And for whatever reason, rather than sending in Thomas McVitie, they sent in their 3rd quarterback. And their 3rd quarterback was true freshman Kenny Pickett. If Pickett doesn't go in there, he might not play all season. But when he went on the field for one play, it burned his red shirt. And then they used him again, I think, in 3 more games. I think he played against NC State. He played in the Virginia game, obviously, the final 3 quarters there, and then started the Miami game in the regular season finale, all because Ben DiNucci's helmet came off. Now, they changed the rule, I think, literally the next year. And I think that was part of why Kenny Pickett was able to get the 5th year, partially due to COVID, partially due to the fact that, by the rules that had changed the next year, he conceivably should have been able to redshirt. And so he got that extra year of eligibility, came back, and obviously had a lot of success in 2021. But the rules changed. And so now you could play in up to 4 games, not including the postseason, and still maintain your red shirt. Now for Pitt, so far this season, I think 9 true freshmen have already burned their red shirt. Is it 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 true freshmen who have already burned their red shirt. And it's some names, some guys that you obviously probably know. Mason Heinchel has played in 6 games. His red shirt is gone. You knew that by now. Trey Bukowski has played in every single game so far. Josh Guerrier has played in every single game so far. Sean Lee Jr. has played in every game so far this season. And, if it weren't for... It's kind of funny. Like, if you didn't have a quarterback who was, 5-0 and has thrown, 12 touchdowns, and 300 yards and multiple touchdowns in 4 out of his 5 starts and hasn't, completely turned the season around, you can make a case for having some really impressive freshmen with Trey Bukowski and Sean Lee Jr. Trey Bukowski's been outstanding. 19 of 21 field goal attempts this year. He's, leads the ACC. Or he's tied for the ACC lead with Aiden Burr from Georgia Tech for the ACC's best field goal percentage. They're both 90.5% on field goals. They're both 19 of 21. I mean, he's literally been one of the best field goal kickers in the conference this year, and he's doing it all as a true freshman. Like, if there wasn't a stud quarterback leading you to a 5-0 record after a 2-2 start, completely engineering the turnaround, you would say, wow, Trey Bukowski's the best freshman on the team. And the competition for him would be Sean Lee Jr., who has played in every single game. He's 8th on the team in defensive snaps. If anything, and I wrote this on Panther-Lair.com, if anything, he's a bit underutilized. He's played fewer than 30 snaps in 4 out of the last 6 games. He's been targeted 25 times, and he's only given up 10 catches for 28 yards. The 10 out of 25 is good. That's a 40% completion rate when targeting Sean Lee Jr. That's pretty good. But the fact that he's only given up 28 yards on 25 targets, 28 yards on 10 receptions even, that's outstanding cornerback play. Sean Lee Jr. has been really, really good this year as a true freshman. I think you circle him as a starter for next year. I think you pencil him in as a starter for next year. I think when you're looking ahead to 2026, Shadarian Harrison and Sean Lee Jr. are your starting corners. And you feel pretty good about that. He has been a revelation. I think Josh Guerrier goes into next season as a starting safety. He's played every game this year, mostly on special teams, but he's gotten more playing time on defense in recent weeks as Cruz Brookins and Javon McIntyre have dealt with injuries. And he's, he blocked a punt at Florida State. He's broken up 3 passes this year. I think he's just been good and getting better. And I think he's going to be really good as time goes on this season and into next year. Jakarian Turner. I really should pronounce his name appropriately because he has been outstanding. He's played 8 games for Pitt this season. He's got 443 rushing yards. He's got... That's his total. Oh, he's 399 rushing yards. He's Pitt's leading rusher with 399 rushing yards. He's scored 6 touchdowns. He's 4th on the team in all-purpose yards. He's got 443 total yards of offense. He's just been really, really good. Or I guess in the last 6 games, he's got 443 yards and 4 touchdowns. Averaging more than 5 yards per touch. And as they've gone through this stretch where Desmond Reed has been healthy or has been less than 100%, has missed time, missed games, Jakarian Turner has stepped up. And Pat Narduzzi referred to him as Des Reed 2.0. I don't know if I would go that far, but I think the potential's there. He is just an outstanding player. He gets outside and he makes guys miss and he can take off. He's tough. He's fast. He's really good. And you talk about penciling guys in for starting jobs next year. I think Jakarian Turner has a pretty good case to be the guy going into next season. Tony Kinsler and Bryce Yates, wide receivers, have both burned their red shirts. Kinsler has played in 8 games, but almost all on special teams. Kind of interesting. He's played in 8 games, but he's only been on the field on offense in half of those. And it was Duquesne, Boston College, Stanford, and Louisville. So 3 blowouts or near blowouts. And, I don't know if you count the Stanford game as a blowout. I kind of do. And then the Louisville game, he got some offensive snaps there. He's had 1 reception for 4 yards, Tony Kinsler, but he's been out there, and I think it says something when the coaches are willing to play you on special teams like that. They clearly feel good about your contributions to the team and how you can help them. And then Bryce Yates is averaging like 23 yards per catch. He's only got 8 catches, but he's 8 for 185 and a touchdown. He's been a deep threat, also a big yak guy. He's only been targeted 11 times, but he's seen more playing time in the last few games. I think half of his snaps have come in, the Boston College, NC State, and Stanford games. A little bit like Kinsler. I mean, they're not going to Bryce Yates and Tony Kinsler when the game is tight or in crucial moments like that. I mean, they're sticking with Kenny Johnson, Raphael Williams, Blue Hicks, but they are getting Yates on the field, and they're getting him on the field with the offense, and he's made some big plays with the offense. Like I say, averaging 23 yards per catch. And then one guy you might not have thought about, Emmanuel Taylor, linebacker. He's played a little bit at outside linebacker. 21 snaps in the last 3 games as they've been dealing with the injuries to Kyle Lewis and Nick Lappy and Rasheem Biles. But he's also played on special teams a lot, and he's been on the field in 7 games, so he's burned his red shirt, and he's the 8th guy. Probably the least number of snaps out of any of these guys we're talking about, and a bit of a surprise probably to see his name. He might not be a name that comes to mind when we talk about the freshmen who are contributing for this team, but he has played quite a bit for Pitt. Guys to watch who are close to burning their red shirt. There's 2 guys who have played in 2 true freshmen who played in 3 games this year. Max Hunt, the tight end, and Trevor Summers, the defensive tackle. My guess is they won't play those guys more than one more time in the regular season and try and preserve their red shirts. But they're right on that cusp. So if you see Hunt or Summers take the field, and you shouldn't, but if you do, that's going to be their 4th game. And then if they do it again, then it'll be their 5th and they burn their red shirts. For now, I don't think there is another freshman that they will burn. And really, there's only 3 guys who are in danger of having their red shirts burned. It's Max Hunt, Trevor Summers, and then Cam Sapp, the wide receiver, who's seems to be behind Kinsler and Yates, but he's another good young wide receiver, true freshman. He's played in 2 games. So if he plays in the next 3, it would burn his red shirt. Max Hunt and Trevor Summers, if they play in 2 of the next 3, it would burn their red shirts. All the other true freshmen on the team, scholarship guys, walk-ons, they've all played 1 game or 0, so they could play in every game the rest of the way, and they won't lose their red shirts. But that's those are the guys to keep an eye on. Of the true sophomores, there was 3 on the team this year, actually. 3 guys who are on the team who did not redshirt last season. Francis Brew, he's obviously played in every game. Malachi Thomas has obviously played in every game. And then Jeremiah Marcelin. And Marcelin is an interesting case. He played last year almost exclusively on special teams. And you say, wow, they burned his red shirt for special teams. Why would you do that? Now you wasted a year. Yes and no. You got something out of him on special teams last year, and now you're able to get a year back and preserve a year because he played last year. So he got hurt in training camp this year, hasn't played at all this season, so he can take a red shirt. And he's a sophomore now. He'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. If they had held him back, only played 4 games last year, and redshirted him, that wouldn't be an option. He'd still be in the same place going in, as a redshirt sophomore next season, but you would have gotten a lot less contributions. Last year they had him play on special teams throughout the season. If you held him back and made sure he redshirted and then he got this season-ending injury in training camp, you wouldn't have that redshirt year to use. I think it works out. Sometimes we question wow, why'd you play that guy just 12 games on special teams? What's the point of that? With Tony Kinsler or Emmanuel Taylor or some of these true freshmen we're talking about who aren't necessarily contributing on offense or defense, but they're playing on special teams. There is an upside to it. I don't think you need to do it with every single guy, but there is an upside to it that you're able to preserve that redshirt year in case an injury or something happens and you need to use it down the line. And so Jeremiah Marcelin going to be able to redshirt and come back in 2026 as a redshirt sophomore. As far as the junior class, Pitt had 4 guys entering the season who were true juniors, guys who never took red shirts. Wide receiver Kenny Johnson, linebacker Braylon Lovelace, linebacker Rasheem Biles, and offensive lineman B.J. Williams. Those guys have all passed the 4-game threshold. They're not redshirting this year. Obviously, Johnson, Lovelace, and Williams have played in every game this season. Biles has played in 6 out of 9 so far, and they will continue to play. Those guys will be in every game that they're healthy to play for. And, obviously Pitt getting Rasheem Biles back would be huge. It's remarkable that Biles has only played in 6 games, and he's still Pitt's second leading tackler with 53 tackles. He also leads the team with 8.5 tackles for loss. He's got 2 sacks. He's got a pick 6. He's got 2 pass breakups. He's got a forced fumble. He's got 9 pressures. Getting Rasheem Biles back on the field is huge for these final 3 games. I don't think anyone would deny that. And he's not taking a red shirt. Yeah, like I say, he's already played in 6 games, so that's not an option. Now, there are a number of options in the senior class. There's actually six guys who came into this season as true seniors with, potentially they could have played in 4 games or fewer, taken a red shirt, and come back in 2026. As it stands right now, 2 of them have already eliminated that possibility. 4 more are still kind of on the table, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the coaches do here. So Desmond Reed, obviously, he's played 6 games. He can't redshirt this year. He never redshirted at Western Carolina. Came to Pitt. He's played the last 2 years. That red shirt is out there, but he played 6 games this year. He's not going to be able to do it. Justin Holmes, the tight end, played his first 2 years at Kent State. Played, last year at Marshall, and he has played in every game this season for Pitt. So he's not going to be eligible for a red shirt. These other guys are, though. Cole Gonzalez. Gonzalez played 3 years at Western Carolina. He played at least 8 games each of those years, so no red shirts there. And at Pitt, he has played in 3 games. I think it's possible and probably a plan to not use him more than one more time in the regular season. So you preserve that red shirt and you get an experienced veteran coming back as the backup next year, if he wants to do that. And if he doesn't, Pitt has done right by him by giving him a red shirt and letting him go play somewhere else. Like preserving that extra year of eligibility. And they shouldn't need him. I mean, it would take an extreme situation to need to go to Cole Gonzalez at any point the rest of the way when you've got Mason Heinchel and Eli Holstein there to kind of handle the quarterback job. But I don't think it's the worst thing to be able to bring him back as, a veteran backup in 2026. Rashawn Murray, the cornerback who transferred from Cal PA. He played in the first 3 games this season and played 35 snaps in the game at West Virginia, but he has not played since then. I think he's been on the availability report a few times. If he doesn't play in more than one more game in November, he could come back, which I think another veteran, you're going to lose Tamon Lineman, Rashad Battle as senior corners. You could bring him back and have another veteran corner to play with Harrison and Sean Lee Jr. and those guys that we talked about. Sincere Lee, really interesting situation. He obviously got hurt late in the season last year. It was a pretty severe injury. Couldn't practice in spring camp. Very limited in training camp. Finally got on the field 2 games ago in the NC State game. Played again at Stanford. So he's played in 2 games this season. He could play in 2 more. There's 3 games left. If he plays in all 3, he can't redshirt. His Pitt career is over. Like, this is his final year of his Pitt career. If he only plays in 2 of those games, which I think Pat Narduzzi has said is the goal, they could bring him back for another season, which I think would be a boost. Because after the NC State game, it was like, nah, he's not really that good. He had a bad drop, ran a bad route. But the Stanford game, he had 2 big catches. One really good catch for like 30 yards and a really good route and catch and play for another 17. Both picked up first downs. They were both really good plays. I think you could see his value in the passing game. And then Justin Cook, who transferred from East Stroudsburg as a wide receiver, moved to running back in spring camp when Pitt was down numbers at running back. He's a walk-on. The Pitt coaches seem to really like him. They played him a little bit at Stanford, got a handful of snaps out there. He's only played 1 game, so he could play in the remaining 3 games and keep his red shirt. Pat Narduzzi said they're kind of hoping to do that. So that's another guy who they very well could keep. I mean, they don't need to do anything in particular. to preserve his red shirt. He's only played in one game, so he could play in the final 3 and still keep his red shirt, whereas Sincere Lee has played in 2 games, Rashawn Murray and Cole Gonzalez have played in 3 each. Those guys you're going to have to kind of keep an eye on. If you want to bring them back, you have to monitor, how you use them, when you use them, how much they play, if you are trying to bring them back as redshirt seniors in 2026. I think those are good candidates to bring back. The coaches seem to like Cole Gonzalez a lot. I think Sincere Lee is a good player that they could use next year, particularly after Raphael Williams is done. He could step into that Williams role, I would think. Cole Gonzalez, like I said, is a veteran quarterback. A veteran backup would be a great piece to have back. Rashawn Murray is a veteran in the cornerback room. I think all these guys would probably be, good players to bring back. And the way they've managed their workload, and some of it due to injuries, some of it due to just how the coaches have deployed them, it should create the opportunity for them to come back and play again in 2026 as redshirt seniors. So those are the guys to keep an eye on. See how much they play this week. Well, not this week. They're not going to play this week. See how much they play against Notre Dame, and then the Georgia Tech and Miami games going forward. We'll update this after the Notre Dame game, see where the count is, if anybody else is in danger of going over. But I feel like they should be about done with burning red shirts. I don't think there's anybody else that they'll get past unless they run into an emergency situation, and then we'll see what happens. All right, Morning Pitt mailbag tomorrow, so get your questions in at Panther-Lair.com. We always look forward to doing that. It's my favorite day of the week, and hopefully yours too. Then we head into the off weekend, and then, brother, it's back to game week next week. Looking forward to it, as always. All right, thanks for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. Hope you've had a great week so far. Enjoy your Thursday, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow for the Morning Pitt mailbag right here on YouTube.com/Panther-Lair.com.